Hello folks, so one of the first videos I did on my channel was about insurance write-offs and how you can buy a repaired Cat S, Cat N car. And we basically looked at the different insurance write-off categories, the things to look out for in those, and then some of the savings you could possibly see. And we looked at sort of, is it going to be for you, is it not? A couple of things I got wrong in that video and a couple of things I didn't explain too well, so I'm doing a little redo today and hopefully you'll find this a much better video and a much easier watch. Keep watching. So insurance companies write off vehicles for a number of different reasons. One is the car's been nicked and you don't see it again. Secondly is the damage to the car is considered uneconomical to repair. So it might be that the insurance company value your car at say 3,000 and the repair is going to cost 4,000. Well, they're just going to give you the money for the car and write it off. And then the last one is that the car is structurally damaged or damaged in such a way that they don't consider it safe to go back on the road. Basically, it's unrepairable. With those write-offs, they have different categories of write-off to tell you the level of it. And basically, with a couple of them, you get a chance to buy the salvage. If you don't buy it, the insurance company often sells it to a salvage company, a breakage yard, whatever it may be. You can often pick those vehicles up sort of without the damage repaired on places like Copart. Now, as I said, there are various different kinds of write-off category, and that determines whether the car comes back into the market or not. So firstly, category A and category B don't, they're just gone. So category A, it can be used for scrap only. It's basically cars that have been so badly damaged, or maybe they've had a fatality in them, something like that. There's a reason why they can never ever be used and the parts can't be salvaged either. Okay, so no parts from that car, it has to go basically into a crusher and sold for scrap. Category B, again, is really serious damage and that car can never reappear on the road, but some of the parts can be salvaged from it. Unlike category A, where you can't even salvage the parts, it literally has to go in the scrap. So the main two we're looking at in this video are category S, which means it's had structural damage, but it is repairable. It used to be called category C, by the way. They changed the categories to make them a bit more straightforward for the punter. So category S means it's had structural damage. Structural damage is more than just cosmetic damage. It doesn't just mean a door panel's been pushed in or the wing's been pushed in or it needs a new bumper, anything like that. It means a crumple zone's been done, maybe the chassis been bent or twisted, but it is repairable. Now category N is sort of the mildest write-off category, if you like, and that's non-structural damage. So the N is for non, basically, non-structural damage. So that's going to be cosmetic damage mainly. But just because a car's had non-structural damage, don't think it's necessarily going to be drivable, because the damage could be things like suspension, could be brakes, be steering, anything like that. Except for Cat S and Cat N, used to be known as Cat C and Cat D. Cat S and Cat N are very slightly different from Cat C and Cat D if you look at the full definitions, but not drastically so. If a car has been written off previously, it will appear on the logbook, and it'll also be logged by the insurance company with various different agencies, which means if you do a vehicle history check, obviously I promote the one with VCheck, it's the one I tend to use. It's very, very comprehensive. If you do a vehicle history check, it should show up on there that the car's been a previous insurance write-off. With some of those car history check services as well, like VCheck, they often will have pre-accident damage pictures of the car, which is a really nice touch. So if you really want to see with your own eyes that damage before it was repaired, you know, some of those services do have that available. There are loads available, by the way, but I personally use VCheck, and there's a link to it in the video description and pinned as the top comment. What it also means is anyone selling you the car should declare it. Okay, so if they're selling you a Cat S or a Cat N, or if you come to sell it in future, you should declare it in your advertising and you should make it clear. Now, it does put a lot of people off. Rightly or wrongly, it does put people off. So if you're looking at one of these and thinking I'm grabbing a bargain, do consider that you might have some resale problems when the time comes. Lots of people buy them without problems and are happy to buy them, but there is also a decent percentage of people that will ring an alarm bell with, they possibly don't know too much about it, and they'll just walk away. So bear that in mind. These things can be bargains if you want to buy them and hold on to them, but resale's not always going to be the easiest thing for you. So a couple other things just to mention before we sort of move on to the examples are things you should be looking at when you're buying these cars, okay? So you do all your normal checks that you would with any used car. even though you know it's written off, you still want to do your V check or your HPI check or whichever one you choose to use, because you want to make sure it's got no outstanding finance on it. You want to make sure that it hasn't been written off 10 times before. You want to see that pre-accident damage if you can, so you can check that everything's been repaired as it should have been. You also want to make sure the mileage is correct. And those history checkers, you will see the mileage as it goes through the years. And the most important thing is that you give it a test drive like you've never test driven a car ever before. You want to brake really hard in it and make sure it doesn't veer one direction or the other. You want to take your hands off the steering wheel on a straight piece of road and make sure the car's not lurching one way or the other. You want to go over all the panel gaps, all the gaps between every panel on the car, and make sure they're even all the way down. If they're like 5mm all the way down, that's great. If they're 10mm at the top and 1 at the bottom, that's bad. You really want to take someone along with you that really knows what they're looking at. Someone that understands body damage and structural damage and knows how the repair's been done. The most important thing is that you're 100% confident that that car's been repaired to the top standard possible. Because if it hasn't been, and there's a weak point in the car, you might pay for that in future. So really, really do your due diligence and make sure the thing's been looked after properly. But as I said, also make sure you do all the normal checks you would do on any used car, because it is still a used car. Right, so let's have a look at some of these examples now, and we'll see just how much money you can potentially save by buying a Cat S or a Cat N versus a car with a clean history. Let's take a look. Right, so I'm on the AutoTrader website here, and I'm going to show you something that's really, really useful on here. So under the search options, under the filter options, you've got Cat S, C, D, N. And then you've got include them in your search, so they'll be included in the search alongside cars that aren't Cat S. Exclude, and then only show. And then you'll see here it's got Cat N, Cat D, Cat S. So it's very, very clear. Okay, just thought I'd show you that as a little quick tip, because if you definitely don't want a Cat S, Cat N, it's really easy to filter them out. And if you really do want one because you think you can save a lot of money to have one, you can only show them. Also, be a bit wary on eBay. I've seen lots of cars on eBay that are blatantly Cat S, Cat Ns, and they're not listed as that. And also stuff like Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree, it's rife with adverts that don't declare it. And that really just underlines why it's so important to always do a used car history check before you buy a car. Okay, so a few examples. We're going to go up in price. We've got 3 examples for you. The first one's a Toyota Yaris. Look at this one here. It's 2013 1.3 VVTi TR model. And this one's actually got a few bits of bodywork damage on it. It is from a private seller, so often they'll have a few scuffs and bits and bobs on it. There you go. But nothing horrendous, nothing that can't be sold for probably a couple £100. It's got 30,000 miles on it. It's £5,800. So we're now going to look at that as a Cat S. Very, very similar car. Again, it's the 1.3 VVTi TR. This one's got 41,000 miles. Now, one difference here is the other one had full service history and this one's got no mention of service history. So I'm going to assume it hasn't got it, but of course it could possibly have it. This one's £4,000. So you're looking at 5.8 versus 4 for basically the same thing. I would say proceed with caution on this particular one. I'm not convinced by the gaps on that front bumper. I would guess this had front end damage. And also there's some other damage on the car. I mean, that doesn't look convincing. It is only a photo. There's a couple of other bits of damage on the car that haven't been fixed. There's a dent in the back there. And that back bumper doesn't fit massively well either. So I would say proceed with caution on that particular one. But I just wanted to give you a rough example of how the pricing works out. Right, next one is an Audi A3. It's a 1.2 petrol, 2015 model. And it's the TFSI SE. This one's completely legit, no issues with it on the face of things. It's got 36,000 miles, new MOT, small scratch on the back left tyre arch, and no mention of service history again. Now, if we look at the Cat S, £7,500. Great car to drive, sad to see it go. However, we have twins on the way, so need a 7-seater. Very economical, cheap to run, the smooth drive. Recently serviced, air conditioning, Bluetooth, blah, 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 blah. And it's a Cat S. Cat D, sorry. Loads of pictures on this one. It's been listed really well. It's a private seller again, but it's been well listed. So 7.5 grand versus 10.5 grand. They're not exactly like for like. They're going to be some differences with general condition and history and all that sort of stuff. But you can see you're saving 30% basically on that one. You're saving about 30% on that one. And finally, we've got the BMW 3 Series. It's the 320i Touring, so the estate version. This one's the sport trim, 25,000 miles, and no mention of service history. So you're looking at 16,800 quid on that one. And then the Cat S, again sport trim, 320i, looking at 11 grand, and that's with 47,000 miles. So mileage is a bit higher, it's about 20,000 miles more, but it's a great saving again, isn't it? I mean, that's a lot of money to be saving. Obviously, there is quite a mileage discrepancy between these two. It's probably the least like for like than the ones we looked at. One thing I would note is nowhere in this listing does it mention that the car's a Cat S, apart from the fact that AutoTrader do the check on it and they're telling you it's a Cat S. But the owner of the car hasn't listed that in the actual car sale listing. I would suggest you always list it. We know AutoTrader are going to pick it up and mention it on there, but I would strongly suggest you list it because you want to be upfront and obvious with this. Last thing you want, someone to come out, test drive the car, you agree a deal, then they look at the logbook and it says it's Cat S, and they walk away. Just wasted everyone's time. But obviously it's had a full valet. It looks to be in really good nick, and on the face of things, obviously. And from these photos, I can't see where the accident damage was. I can't see any odd panel gaps or anything like that. Obviously not the most amazing set of pictures, and it's nothing like seeing a car in the flesh. But you're looking at that, 16,800 quid. Maybe if this had 40,000 miles on, maybe it'd be more like 15.8 or 15. You know, that's a really good saving again, upwards of, over 30%. From the little bit of research I've done on this morning, you could possibly be looking at a 30% saving. But if it's a car you're looking to keep for a long period of time, So just a few to get you started there and get you thinking about this, and kind of give you a little idea of how much money you could potentially save by getting a previously written off car. You really just have to satisfy yourself that you're happy with it. So what did you think of that one, folks? Hope you enjoyed the video, and please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Would you buy a Cat S or a Cat N? Have you bought one in the past and had problems? Have you bought them in the past and they've been fantastic? Let us know your experiences in the comments. While you're there, please give the video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Do lots of content about used cars on this channel, also lots of content about car finance and car leasing. Got a few car reviews on here as well, and a few more coming up. So yeah, it's normal content for normal people. I'm not going to be doing too much stuff on supercars and all the rest of it. I think there are plenty of people doing that already. This is stuff for real people, everyday people. So hope you enjoy it, folks. Please show it some love, and hopefully see you next time. Maybe go and check this video out next, because maybe you'll enjoy that one. I don't know. Check it out. Thanks a lot, guys. See you next time.